Welcome to another Fenster education series. Today we're going to be talking about rough openings and how to measure a door. One of the most important things to realize is when you're ordering a door is rough opening. That's the term that the door industry uses and refers to a lot. So the rough opening refers to the largest size a door can fit into a hole. So in this case, we would be looking at the stud all the way to the other side, which would be the stud as well. Most doors have a shim inside of them, and that's for adjusting. But you really want to find the stud. So when we're measuring the door, we want to put your tape right on the stud, and then we'll go all the way to the other side and measure. In this case, it comes out to about 67.5 inches. So the rough opening is the largest size that a door can fit. The proper way to do it is you actually measure from the top, middle, and bottom. The reason why we do 3 measurements is sometimes in houses the studs are bowed or crooked. In older homes, they may have settled or shifted. So over time, you want to take that into account. You want to do 3 on the width and 2 on the height. If it's a larger unit, you want to take multiple measurements. So we talked about the width and the height. The other thing that we need to know is the width of your wall. The North American industry for doors and windows is all set around a stud. The most common stud size you'll hear is a 2x4. A 2x4 comes out to 4 9/16. This wall is not a 2x4, and this one comes out to about 8 inches. This was a 2x6 construction with extra thick plywood on top of other ply, so this is a custom frame. When you're doing renovations in particular, you might be doing brick, stucco, shiplap, cedar siding. The walls can always change, so when you're measuring, this is definitely one of the measurements you want to take into account. Just had a customer come in, he's doing a rock sheathing on his house. So that's going to bump the standard 6 9/16 out quite a bit. One thing you can do is you get a smaller and then you fur it out, or you'll have to ask for a larger. In a lot of North American style construction, the standards are the standards, but when you get into more of a European or a high performance house like Passive House, you usually stick with a narrower and then you trim it in later as a finish. So this is a typical door. If you were to measure just your door, you would do the same thing. You would measure in the middle, top, and lower. It's really common on older houses in particular that they shave the bottom of the door because when they droop, the bottom corner drags, so they'll cut constantly. So you want to be aware of how a door may have been cut over time if you're doing renovation work. The other thing that's important is when you're measuring on the door, this is a 36-inch door. The problem when you measure is doors are supposed to have a bevel so they open and close properly. When the bevel is put on a door, there's about a 3-degree angle on here. So if I were to take my measuring tape and measure from the top side, I would actually have a biased smaller size than the actual door size. So if I measured my tape on this side, it would work wonderful. But if I measured on this side, I'd be fooling my own measurements and it wouldn't be an accurate number. So measuring doors is really important. In the earlier 1900s, when homes were first built in North America, they had smaller doors, smaller people, smaller everything. And those old heritage builds, we actually have to replicate or rebuild a lot of doors to fit those smaller holes. So a lot of the doors that we do have been cut and trimmed over time or made for that particular size. The important thing to know was standards change over time. From basically when doors were built up to about the 70s-ish, the standard door was about 77.5 inches in North America. After that, they would go to about 79, depending on manufacturer. When a lot of the synthetic steel manufacturers came out, hollow core, they would create 79-inch doors because they would build a 78-inch slab and then trim it to 79. So depending on manufacturers, all that, you can have doors different sizes all the time. Why is this important? Because if your house was framed around that, all of your headers are going to be at that height, which means you can't put an 80-inch door in, because once you factor in the jamb, the header on the jamb, it's not going to fit. So you want to be careful, especially older homes, if it is the right height of door. That being said, for exterior doors, the standard used to be 32 inches wide by 77.5 inches tall. When the 80s hit, they started producing 34, in the 90s, 34-inch doors because they wanted a 36-inch rough opening. Fast forward a couple decades, now the standard is a 36-inch door and the rough opening is 38 inches. So depending if your house is older or newer in North America, you may be after different doors, and the heights could vary from 77 to all the way up to 80-inch doors. Another measurement that you might want to do is called an inside measurement. Inside measurement would refer to the inside of the frame to the inside of the frame. In this case, it would be about 23 inches, even though the unit size is closer to 25.5. The reason why you want a inside measurement would be really important if you're moving furniture or appliances into your house. The most common door size that we manufacture is 30-inch doors. And if you look into appliances and all the other things that you can put in your house, they're all built for 29 inches. The appliances are actually built for the most common door size that we sell. 65% is 30-inch and about 15% is 32-inch. If I were building a new house, I would recommend a little bit larger. Why? Because when you put something through, you're not going to rub your knuckles on the inside of the door frame. So inside measurement, not really important in the door world because we care about the rough opening size. But for the homeowner or the customer, inside measurement's really important because you don't want knuckles being broken or profanity with all of your trades. Depending if you're on an older house or a newer house, you might have a 32-inch by 77 all the way up to 80 inches by 36. I have people come in and they ask me, well, I'm after a door. And I say, wonderful, what's the size? And they go, well, standard size. Go, ooh. So you really have to understand that because things changed over time, I don't have a straight answer. I could tell you it's most likely a 32 if your house is this old, but I can't tell you for certain unless if you take the measurements and measure the door properly. That's why we're doing this video, is to make you aware of why these measurements matter.